Hello, this is Min. Let me set the timer here, actually. I am doing my psychobiographical presentation on none other than Ho Chi Minh, or pronounced in a standard Vietnamese Northern dialect as Ho Chi Minh. I grew up knowing him from a Southern accent as Ho Chi Minh. And in addition to sharing a name, my name Min is also Ho Chi Minh, one of Ho Chi Minh's names. And this man, this father really of modern day Vietnam, has gone by many different names. And I wanted to preface my my 10-minute presentation video here by saying that I grew up, my father was like a lieutenant level person in the South Vietnamese army. So he fought against the North. He fought against Ho Chi Minh's Ho Chi Minh's army. And so we became refugees. And in 1999, in Little Saigon in Orange County, there was this huge incident where a poster of Ho Chi Minh was put up in the Little Saigon community in Orange County, California. And there was this big uproar about it. And that was the first time that I had really encountered this figure, right? This massive figure in not only to the Vietnamese people, but really in the in world politics of the 20th century. And like I was saying earlier, this man has gone by so many different names, and he has lived in so many different places, and has disguised and transformed himself in so many different ways that it's really hard to really pin down who Ho Chi Minh really was. And so I realized in bringing this presentation together that it was going to feel a little bit like disparate parts. And this is something that really very much exists with the myth of Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh was a person. His body actually is kept in Hanoi against his will, actually, against his dying wishes. His body was kept in a very Lenin style in his mausoleum in Hanoi, the capital of modern day Vietnam. But he was a person, he was a myth. He was the father of modern day socialist Vietnam, and he was quite a mystery. So let's dive into these disparate parts. And it is my intention to bring these together in as much of a psychological and integrative fashion as I possibly can. I have some slides, I have some notes. I'm just gonna kind of bounce back and forth and try to give you my take on Ho Chi Minh. So having rendezvoused with Ho Chi Minh for the past month or so has been quite the pleasure. And in getting to know him, I've always admired him. And I would like to use my countertransferences through my own lifespan to as psychological material in the analysis and explanation, my attempted explanation of this personality known the world over as Ho Chi Minh. So let me get started with some visuals that I have. Let me pull up this here. This is taking just a tad longer than I had planned. Here we are. Okay, so this is our man. Oops. So some published data that do exist on Ho Chi Minh, the figure, are what I have gathered is that there is a documentary on him by a book, actually, a biography of his life by a man named William Durker, D-U-R-K-E-R. And there was an interview of him in the jungles in the 50s. Let me see here, by an American journalist named Joseph something. I couldn't gather the last name, but this was, in 1953, an interview with Ho Chi Minh in the jungle. And there are some videos of him in his own voice, actually at the Northern Vietnam's Declaration of Independence in 1954, 53, 54. He opened with the Declaration of Independence, the American Declaration of Independence, interestingly enough. And as we go through my presentation, I'd like to come back again and again to the point that Ho Chi Minh, it's very questionable, really, if whether or not he was an actual communist. It seemed like he had some leanings, socialist leanings, but whether or not he was an actual communist, a lot of people have some disputes over. So some unpublished data that I have that I would like to kind of bring up here and there also is I was in Hanoi in 2017, and I was at I think it wasn't his museum or mausoleum. It was, I think, just the Hanoi City Museum or something like that. But they had a lot of his written poems and letters and things that he had sent to people through the years. So I suppose it is kind of published. But I had a chance to read some of these, written by the hands of Ho Chi Minh himself. And a lot of them were poetry, and they were really beautiful poetic rhetoric. I mean, he talked about decolonization against the French, right? Because this was a man who fought against the French. He spoke about decolonization poetically as being the immune system of the land. Just get rid of these foreign pathologies, act as the immune system for the land itself. And his guerrilla warfare really did tap into landscape. His use of landscape was quite brilliant. And the Ho Chi Minh Trail and the Gucci tunnels near modern day Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon, are just these genius contraptions of underground tunnels that were used to store and used to live in, these entryways through rivers that you had to dive into to get into them. They had these people, and a lot of them were women who were smaller, and they would ride these bicycles all day long to generate electricity for these underground tunnels and fans moving through them. It was just, how could they not have won? It was my pondering throughout my time with Ho Chi Minh the past month. So the methodology that I'm going to use various psychoanalytic and Jungian analytic theories to try to explain and analyze the life and the behaviors of Ho Chi Minh. Some ethical things and countertransference I had mentioned. I grew up. I never really had strong feelings against Ho Chi Minh. Whenever I was exposed to him, it was pretty obvious that he was quite a brilliant mind and some kind of a genius. It was just obvious, and so it was quite a journey. Here's Ho Chi Minh next to Mao Zedong. Now, a lot of people kind of compare the two because Mao Zedong, of course, was the communist leader who founded modern day People's Republic of China. And Ho Chi Minh is often considered his counterpart. Here is Ho Chi Minh with, I believe, oh gosh, what is his name? It's not Zhou Enlai, but it's one of the kind of like second, third in command to Mao Zedong. Here you have at the 1955 Chinese National Parade, from left to right, you have Kim Il-sung of North Korea, and Zhou Enlai, who I mentioned earlier, of China, Ho Chi Minh in the middle there, Mao Zedong, and Nikita Khrushchev of Russia. Quite the party, you can imagine. Ho Chi Minh, also known as Uncle Ho, Bác Ho in Vietnamese, is often depicted as a wispy, friendly old man. And he was portrayed often surrounded by children and shaking hands with old people. wearing very drab clothing. He blended in with the landscape. Here is Ho Chi Minh as a young man. Now, he cultivated various images, and he did this through various names as well. He was supposedly born in 1890. It's not even a general consensus, it's sort of a plurality or something. And he was born generally, the general consensus was that he was born named Nguyen Sinh Cung to a father named Nguyen Sinh Sak and a mother named Hoàng Thị Loan. He has gone by 50 to about 200 different pseudonyms, some documented, some through word of mouth. But some of the most famous ones, of course, is Ho Chi Minh itself, which is a name that was not his birth name. He adopted this name, and it became his globally recognized name, of course. But others were Nguyen Tất Thành, and Nguyen Ai Quốc is one of his more famous names as well. Nguyen Ai Quốc means Nguyen the Patriot, as it's often translated as, and Ho Chi Minh means bringer of brilliance or bringer of light. These are just some locations and dates that have been documented of him living in these various locations in the West and in America, and learning and writing in these various languages and operating with the socialist parties and various other movements in these major areas. So he was rumored to have been married to even a Chinese woman, and there aren't really much records of her. He's been linked to some other people as well, but the general acceptance is that he was never married. My sense of Ho Chi Minh is that he was indeed a lover of his nation and of his people, and that his poems that he was able to write in Vietnamese alphabet, in the older Chinese-based characters in Vietnamese as well. But he really was able to tap into something archetypal. He spoke to the people. He spoke to the core of the Vietnamese psyche, a people who have defended themselves against foreign invaders for 4 millennia. And his decolonizational rhetoric is revered the world over. And I know that in South America, Ho Chi Minh is well known and quite popular in socialist circles there. His guerrilla warfare, like I mentioned, the use of landscape, there's something very indigenous about his approach to warfare. And he was quoted to say things often like, let me see here. I have a quote from him saying that he said this to the French: "I will lose 10 men for your every one, and in the end, we will win." Now, if we psychoanalyze a statement like that, right, it's easy to maybe say that oh, this was somebody who maybe was antisocial, psychopathic, maybe even narcissistic, or something to the effect. But the way it's culturally contextualized is that he is showing strength in numbers, right? He's saying that the Vietnamese people can reproduce, basically, and he was speaking to the kind of generativity of the land, and this is something that is in the Vietnamese psyche pretty deeply, and is something that not even the Chinese, through a millennia of imposing their colonizing efforts on us, could rid of, was this ability to maintain some form of autonomy and often strength in numbers. So he was there touching on something archetypal in energy, right? So something like an archetypal image that courses through the Vietnamese unconscious. So let's move on to some of his politics. There have been I forget which general it was, but an American general was I watched this documentary. I watched several documentaries actually of him on YouTube, and there's one where someone said, you know, he may have been a communist, maybe, but he could have been our communist, and this is said by an American, and that was because he had pleaded to America before he pleaded to the Soviet Union to support his his Vietnamese national politic efforts. And America had turned him down, didn't give him the time of day. And so he then took his revolutionary package and sold it to the USSR. But even like I said, in his Declaration of Independence, he opened with the American Declaration of Independence. There was something about America's pursuit of freedom that he found compelling. Some of my countertransference to Ho Chi Minh is that I find him intimidating. I didn't want to do this in class because I just felt like, I was like, God, I couldn't do him justice, not on the last day of school. And even now I realize I had to do this in disparate parts because there was no way I could bring the gravity of who this person was together in any kind of comprehensive way. So I had just settled for bringing in, you know, the bits and pieces of information that I had of him. Regarding his typology, I think some of my countertransference to him is that I feel like him and I may have very similar typology in that last I checked, am something like an ENTJ. And I believe that he was probably an ENTJ as well. He was definitely an extrovert. And there's an intuitive thinking way that he's able to access, you know, what is just beyond the horizon, and be able to language it and put it into form in rhetoric that I found it initially intimidating, and then you know, after I got over that, I kind of fell in love with it, really. And I touched on this already, but these are some of Ho Chi Minh's famous quotes. Let me get out of the way here. And you're like, look, I'm Ho Chi Minh. But anyway, so these are some of his famous quotes. Nothing is more precious than independence and liberty. It was patriotism, not communism, that inspired me. Remember, the storm is the good opportunity for the pine and the cypress to show their strength and their stability. Oops. And I think that is actually all in regards to the slides that I have. Let me look here about some things I'd like to mention about Ho Chi Minh's life. So I think to attempt at a final analysis and interpretation, explanation, I guess, of who I believe Ho Chi Minh was, I do believe that he's somebody who had a patriotic heart. I believe that Ho Chi Minh was somebody who is probably a genius, and he was a man with a mission. He probably made a lot of sacrifices. And there's another thing that I've been able to, through vicarious introspection, I guess some self-psychology there, able to fill out about his psyche, and through some countertransference sort of reflections as well, is that he was somebody who was probably also some kind of social artist. You know, I have been talking about this social artistry thing for the past 2.5 years during my time here at Pacifica. And I believe this is somebody who knew how to disappear. He dropped off the radar for 10 whole years. No one in the modern world, a major politician, had been able to do that in history. And so, in documented history. And so this is somebody who knew how to work social politics toward his love for his country, for Vietnam. Thank you.